All right, all right. So we're gonna do a little different intro today, right? No, it's not one of those loud, obnoxious musics that some guys do. I don't even know how to do that, you know? I'll probably figure it out if I really want to. Today we're gonna be working on this Ralph Lauren Polo Ralph Lauren Alligator exotic shoes. Now they're in not bad shape. They've been resold, but unfortunately they're missing a lot of fine details, and it's kind of lost its shape a little bit. You know, it's so narrow. Now the guy's got a narrow foot, but the sole itself is just not, something just does not look right. So as usual, we're going to tear it apart. We're going to do JR soles. We're going to do blind stitch. We're going to do Lulu tips, combination heels. We're going to do a purple finish on the bottom as per customer's request. And if you guys notice, my eyes are not red. You know, a lot of people complain that, you know, in the beginning of my videos, my eyes are red. Well, it's 4 freaking in the morning. I like to see some of you guys in the morning, see what you guys look like. Probably snoring and drool coming down your mouth. Anyway, it's late today. It's 8 o'clock. Mondays I come in to do some of my work, and today was just been, everything kind of got turned around, and it was kind of a waste of a day. So I figured, you know what, I got to get something done. So I'm starting late. It's 8 p.m. So let's see how long this is going to take me. All right, let's get started. I'm wearing my JR apron just because I feel like it. The other apron's okay. I just not wearing it. Well, we're closed today, so I don't need the phone hanger thing, you know? So now, leather heel blocks. They're good heel blocks. That's the original heel block. Now, this has been resold at least one time that I know of. Okay? Sometimes what cobblers will do, which I don't agree with, but to each his own, right? If you look right there, see that little splice there? That's the original sole, and that's the new one. Basically, they just kind of overlapped it like this. So they took the sole, JR sole, well, this isn't JR soles. They took the sole and they cut the back, salvaged the back for other projects, whatever. I just don't agree with that, you know? And they've sanded the heel down so much, they've made it so narrow. And you got to be careful when you're sanding the top lift. You got to kind of just skim it to the heel base, leather base there, to the welt. And you can't really sand too much or else you lose that shape. But again, to each his own, right? These were Blake stitched shoes. Blake stitch meaning it's a glued on sole, and from inside outside, it gets stitched. These are not Blake stitch. They just glued it on top of it, which again, it's not the right way to do it. Unfortunately, again, I'm not going to talk bad about other people's jobs, but it's not the right way to do it, unfortunately. And if the consumer doesn't know it, then they're going to be happy with what they got, but it's not the right thing. This is just glued on there. That's all it is. See? Very easy to remove. Now, you got a glue on welt. You see that little piece right there? It stops right here, and it starts right there. So that mid shank right here, it's nice and thin and narrow. I don't know why manufacturers do that. Just, I guess visually, it's a little bit thinner right there at the waist, but only on the inside, not on the outside, because the welt goes all the way from here all the way to there. Like, why would you do that? You know? Doesn't make any sense. But we're going to duplicate it just like what it is now. These nails, these are still the original nails that were nailed from the inside to hold the heel block on. Yeah, we're going to get rid of those. Now, there's a lot of ways of removing that. If you hammer it, you're going to hit the metal last, and it's going to bend. So the nail basically comes right at the edge of that. Where'd it go? That one right there. And then you pull it out. Some people struggle with that, but I guess it's just a matter of getting used to, you know. Man, it is hot as hell outside. It's like 90 degrees at 8 o'clock. So I've got the AC on. Sometimes you'll hear that AC kicking in. Okay, so let's take this apart a little bit more, because we're going to remove those old stitches on there. I'm not going to keep them the same. Can't do that. Come on. Because we have to restitch it. You don't want to have two stitches. No, that's a no-no. Those are the stitches right there. All that's going to come out. All right, let's continue. And that's the footbed. So that's it. Those are the stitches. The soles were stitched on with. We'll remove all that. Now, the glued on construction, it's really simple. It's a very simple construction, right? You've got your footbed. You've got the uppers curve underneath the footbed, and then the sole gets put on top of the uppers there. That's it. This is called the glue on construction. Now, what makes it a Blake stitch is when you get stitched. That converts it into a Blake stitched. This is not a Goodyear welt. This is just a glued on construction that it got Blake stitched. Now, I don't know if the original soles were blind stitched or not, but we're going to blind stitch it as per customer's request. Oh, this was, how much was this? This was $5.25. He has 4 pairs. I'm not going to video the other ones. One of them is pretty extensive. This is, believe it or not, this may look extensive job, but it's not. It's really not. It's your basic sole job. Well, a little bit of basic sole job. The other one of them, the uppers are all cracked, and they're all polos. He loves polos, I guess. And I've got to take the uppers apart and reinforce all the tears. Then I've got to somehow figure it out to send it to him, because it seems like they've kind of stretched out of shape. Like, you know, sometimes I do this when I get it half done and send it to the customer, because he's from out of state and he's not around here, and have him try it on and then send it back to me, give me some, you know, idea of what I need to adjust, if I need to adjust anything else. If not, we just, you know. Now, if you guys can see here, once we open the shoe up, you can kind of tell what's going on there, right? Okay, see that right there? That's his big toe poking the hole right through the lining. We're going to patch that up because we don't want that to go through here. Once it comes through here, the issue becomes a little bit more difficult to fix, because you have you have access in there, but it's not very easily visible to what you're doing. So now that we've got these open, we're going to take care of that hole, plug that hole for him. All right, let's continue. Okay, piece of leather, it's thinned out around the edges. He'll never feel that it's there. This is just the residue of the Dr. Scholl's insole. It's nothing. It hasn't damaged the leather footbed at all. I'll clean all that up once we got just a little bit of glue. Now, once we got this apart, we're going to go ahead and condition it with a little bit of Bick 4. the footbed and everything else on the inside. Because again, it would be difficult to reach in there to condition all that up. Okay, let's continue. So once the glue was removed from the edges, clean that up a little bit. I wiped them down with deglazing fluid. It's almost like breaks down the old polish and the buildup wax and all that. Once it's dried, I'm going to come and spray it with Bick More Exotic. This is basically, you know, I think it does more of conditioning than it does like cleaning. It says it cleans, it conditions, polishes, protects. But, you know, we're still going to apply a little bit of black cream on it after this settles in. I like to do this before I put the soles on. Kind of start the process of, you know, doing the uppers. Then I'll continue it once the soles are on. Just rub it in like that. Get the tongue area too. Nice. I mean, you can feel it. That's kind of being absorbed, you know. This isn't like calfskin where it's got lots of pores, you know. This is a little bit tougher, but still, it does penetrate it somewhat. We're going to let that sit. Let it dry. We're going to put the welt on, stick the soles on, and let's continue. All right, so let me show you guys something. This is what's called a glue-on welt, okay? This goes on the edges right here, all right, just like that, okay? And the sole comes on the welt. This gives it a little bit of a thicker presence. Some glue-on shoes only will have a sole, nice and thin edge. Some will have this welt on here. Now, the difference between this welt, okay, and this welt here, I know they're a little bit bigger, but they're very similar. It's not what I'm talking about, the size. This is what manufacturers will use, most manufacturers. And it's fiberboard, it's paper basically. You see when it bends, it breaks. Okay? And this always happens right at the flex area right here. As you walk, that piece of material doesn't stretch or expand and eventually will crack like that. Now the leather one, this one will not break. It bends, flexes, no problem. So this is what we're going to put on the shoe. All right, let's continue. So anytime you take this style shoe apart from the footbed to the uppers, you've got to be careful to make sure that you bring it exactly where you took it apart from. You see that line right there? That's where the uppers should be glued to. Now let's say we glued it here, right? What's going to happen there? It's going to change the size of the shoe on the inside, and that's a big no-no. Or you bring it over too much, and it's going to make it tighter on the inside. So that's where some repair shops fail, where they take stuff apart and they don't put it back to where it was before. Now, if the customer asks, hey, can you make that a little bit more snug? This could potentially, you know, work, trying to glue it a little bit more tighter. That would, again, change the size of the shoe on the inside, would fit him a little bit more snug. Can you expand it a little bit? Well, not really much, because the footbed is the same size. Now you'd have to change the footbed to make it a little bit wider, which it's a possibility. I've done that before too. Where's my hammer? Ah, now we're talking. I mean, it's not really hammer time. Well, I guess you can call it a hammer time. Okay, she's getting there, slowly but surely. All right, let's continue. Now this step is very critical to how the finished sole will appear, because however you apply this welt onto the shoe, that's what shape the sole is going to follow. So you got to make sure that you do a good job, and it'll look good after it gets done. So again, this is very critical. So now here it doesn't look right. This point right here, it's too far out, so it's got to be pushed back in. So loosen it and push it back in, and that's much better. Just a little bit of detail makes a big difference. So remember to look at the difference in the heel, what it was and what we're going to make it. If you guys can tell, a little bit wider, which how it should be. All right, let's continue. Now we put a little bit of cork. It's a thin cork. I'm still going to sand most of that off, just to fill in a couple of the small little voids in there. Now this is not like a Goodyear welted shoe. A Goodyear welted shoe has a much deeper cavity that needs to be filled in. This one doesn't have that much of a cavity, very little. Most of the time I don't, but sometimes if I see something that's not even, then we can kind of fill it in, sand off the high spots. You don't have much in there, so I think it'll be all right. All right, let's continue. This is what I use, Masters All-Purpose Cement. Some guys literally like have the glue access coming off the counter here and it's stuck. It can't move. It's been like that for years. Oh my God, that would drive me crazy. This drives me crazy here, but I'm not going to clean it just yet. I don't know how they do it, man. Oh, jeez. Once in a while, we'll clean all that off. You know, it's not too bad. Oh God, I don't know how they do it. I really don't know. I don't like it if the handle gets stuck. You know, trying to pull the handle out, the whole can just, the glue pot just comes up with it. Then you got to fight it. So most of the time, just around the edges we clean that up so this doesn't get stuck in there. Now I've got an exhaust fan over there. I like to let it sit there because these fumes, you know, I mean, yeah, it's not healthy for you, you know. Or years of exposure. And it's unfortunate that you do get affected by it. My dad, he was 60 years old when he died of lung cancer. And, but I think, unfortunately with him, back in Lebanon, when they were making shoes, literally there was no ventilation. I mean, none whatsoever. You look at his old pictures, literally there's a grinder that they used to grind it. And leather dust is one of the, you know, micro detail, that's not the word I'm looking for. Very, very, very fine sand dust, leather dust will stick in your lungs and it stays there. So luckily, yes, I've probably inhaled it all these years. I know. I mean, that's just part of the job. What am I going to do? We do have ventilation in the machines that we clean the drawers out, maybe like every 2 weeks. The fan stays on at all time. It kind of circulates the air. The front door, back door, when we open it, nice draft goes in and out. And if we have a lot of soles we glue in it, we'll put it in front of the vent over there to suck it out. So that's the story with the glue. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so when my dad got diagnosed with lung cancer, he was diagnosed as having asthma for many years, like 10 years, but nobody bothered to check an x-ray of his lungs until it was too late. So everybody thought he had asthma, and but unfortunately the cancer was eating him up, and by the time they decided to do more tests, it was too late, you know. All right, let's continue. And that's what we call doing a blind stitch, kids. We're going to open up a little channel, stitch it, and then glue that back down. Once it gets done, you won't tell that was stitched. All right, let's continue. Damn. Adjust the stitch a little too small. Oh, what's my bounce? Looking good. Getting all the air pockets out of the edges, and once it gets sanded, trimmed, you'll never see that edge that was cut open. Let's continue. So I curve the waist a little bit, use the round edge trimmer right on this side here. I think it's going to give it a nice look once it gets done. French tip is on. See if you get the light. Still have to kind of balance that out there. I think once it gets sanded, it'll be better. This is 800 grit paper. This is just kind of evening out the surface a little bit. Now, all right, if you look at the edge here, you see there's a little lip right there, okay? Most guys, when it comes to this stage, they'll put it on and they'll sand the edge on the sander, which is fine. I've done that too, but majority of my soles will have that little lip there because I use the trimmer for that. Trimmer, this is a trimmer here. It's a lot harder to do that finish with this rather than sanding it. There's little patterns on there. See those little marks there? That's what you see there. And then when I burnish it, it's a matching burnishing edge that matches that, and it gives it a nice smooth with a little lip in the edge. It's just aesthetics. It's nothing really structural or anything like that. I just like the way it looks. Gotta do that for a little while. All right, she is ready for some edge dressing on the sides. Let's continue. We're done. Well, I'm done too. I'm exhausted. It's 12 o'clock. So it took about 3 hours. I took a little bit of break. About 3.5 hours, I would say. But it turned out pretty good. I mean, the uppers were in not bad shape, right? It's just that structurally, they just weren't that great the way they were done, you know? I think they turned out pretty good. I think customers are going to be happy. We'll add many more years of wear to it. Cool. All right, thank you for joining me. I've got a bunch more videos that I've got to do. And I've got to catch up on my backlogged work. I've got lots of bags I've got to catch up on still. And I'm making progress slowly but surely, one bag at a time. So hang in there, guys. I'd appreciate your patience when it comes to the bag repairs. All right, so if you guys have any questions, email me, bedos@yahoo.com, bedos@yahoo.com, and I'll do my best to answer all your questions. And we'll see you guys on the next project. Take care.